mentioned in January the number of things that have happened between here and now. But above them all, and standing head and shoulders in the filth, has got to be the fact that a group of Irish people have to gather outside of their houses of the Oireachtas to demand that paedophilia not be tolerated in this country in 2020. And the insanity that is involved in that being a necessity, and it is a necessity, is compounded by the fact that there are groups in this country who have spent the last week deriding everybody who intended to be here. We have arrived at the point in this nation's history when it is possible to stand up or go on social media or go on television and defend a paedophile apologist. And I make no excuses for calling Peter Tatchell a paedophile apologist. And I make no excuses either for adding another line. And he can sue me if he wants. Just me. Not the responsibility of anybody else in this crowd. By his association, the Minister for Children is himself a paedophile apologist. What he said What he said after 5 days of lauding Peter Tatchell and talking about what a great man he was on social media, he finally came out with a statement. He finally came out with a statement, not because he was put under pressure by RTE, because RTE didn't mention it at all, the state broadcaster, not because it was mentioned on TV3, because it wasn't, not because it was mentioned in the newspapers, because it wasn't, but the social media pressure grew to such a point that he had to make a statement, and no journalist had spoken up until now, but they spoke in favour of Roderic O'Gorman when he came out to make a statement condemning people for having thrown foul abuse at him. I don't know how foul the abuse could be that might be thrown at somebody on social media that could compare to the foulness that is represented by Peter Tatchell. And he said, and this is his own explanation, 5 days to come up with it, and he's PR experts too. He said, I might have reconsidered having that photograph taken and putting that tweet up if I'd known that Peter Tatchell was in favour of paedophilia. I might have. This is the person who is proposed as the Minister for Children in this country now. But then he said, and his media advisors came out and his media supporters came out and they said, look, it's one photograph. And one photograph doesn't make him responsible for what Peter Tatchell said. And Roderic O'Gorman said he didn't know what Peter Tatchell had said about paedophilia. There isn't a single person in the world who knows the name Peter Tatchell and does not know that he has publicly supported paedophilia in the past and repeatedly since. It is simply not believable to say that I only took a photograph with him and I didn't know what his opinions were. If you know who Peter Tatchell is, you know what he said. But it was only one letter to the Guardian newspaper. And it was edited. And thank God that Peter Tatchell clarified that first.
Oh, we believe you, Peter.
Except he didn't tell us the part that it had been edited. The part that had been edited was not the part where he said that you could have a joyous experience as a 9-year-old child having sexual contact with an adult. That was not the piece that was denied. But then you say to yourself, look, let's be reasonable here. And I'm going to try and be reasonable here. It's only a photograph. And Roderic O'Gorman didn't say it. It's a bit like, it's just a partridge in a pear tree, as it were. But that was the first day of Christmas. That was the first day of July, as it were. Because it turns out that Peter Tatchell didn't just write an edited letter to the Guardian. Peter Tatchell wrote a chapter for a book which is well known as the Paedophile's Handbook in Britain. But Peter Tatchell says he didn't know what book his chapter was going into. So he didn't know about all the other paedophiles. 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. Peter Tatchell then went on to make the exact same statement just 4 years ago, because another thing they say, it's a very long time ago. Now there's some things I've done a very long time ago and they're not letting them go. And I think some of the audience will be aware of what they are. And some of you were born after the things that I'm supposed to have done that were so very, very terrible. They didn't involve molesting a child. They didn't involve suggesting molesting a child. They didn't involve condoning. They didn't involve advocating. They didn't involve changes in the law. They didn't involve reduction in consent. They revolved around, I made a speech at a meeting in another country to an organization whom I have not spoken to in 20-something odd years. 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Peter Tatchell repeated exactly what he had said, that you could have, and in particular he mentioned, it's funny, he mentioned Derek Jarman, and he said he was unfortunately deceased. Because Derek Jarman told him, unfortunately now he's deceased, we can't ask Derek Jarman, but Derek Jarman told him that as a 9-year-old child, he had had such a joyous sexual contact. No! 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 That statement by a 50-year-old man about an experience which he had at 9 years of age would be recognized by any psychologist worth a good goddamn as being a defense mechanism that abusers, that the abused use to cope with how awful the events that happened to them were. And we can see the trace of damage. True. I see there are people actually here on behalf of the pedophiles. There are people that came to protest on behalf of pedophilia. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely no shame at all. Here are the pedophiles. Here for child rape. We're here for child rape. The pathway to the pear-tree has become three French hymns. It goes on and it builds and it builds on the idea that he knew none of this at any time. Now, we see the people over there, and they remind me of that phrase that is used sometimes in politics. Be careful to choose the hill you die on. Be careful to choose the hill you die on. Because the hill that I'm willing to die on is the defense of my children against child rape and abusers. Are the lowest level of street crime. Be careful. Be careful. And you decide to die on in politics. That's a metaphor, by the way. That's a metaphor, by the way. There can be no scenario in which we can believe that Roderic O'Gorman does not share the fundamental worldview of heritage. He had the audacity to announce on the day after his explanation, if that's what it's supposed to be called, his explanation of the photograph, The Partridge in the Pear Tree. He had the audacity then to say that we are going to force transgenderism without parental consent on 16-year-olds. That's the first step. That is the first step, and we know it's the first step. It's the first step to removing parental responsibilities for their children's education and welfare altogether and handing it over to the state. And in what has got to be the softest interview that Peter Tatchell has ever had on Matt Cooper, even there he admitted it. Even there he admitted it. Children do not belong to their parents. Children belong to the state. No! No! And there they are over there, the communists to the left, who think everything belongs to the state. But it's everything that belongs to the state except the stuff that they own. You can be absolutely guaranteed that private property being theft stops at the point at which they have some actual property. And if they had any children and any decency, they would walk away from here with their heads down. This is not tenable that the Minister for Children, Roderic O'Gorman, can remain in that position under these circumstances. And all he has spent the last week doing is taking a shovel to the issue and digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. Now I know, and I don't expect absolutely everybody in the crowd to agree with me. I'm known for having fairly strong views on things. So I'm going to finish on this line, so that my reputation doesn't go untarnished. The only debate that we should have about pedophilia in this country should take place in a courthouse. Where the pedophile rapist, following a free and fair trial and a conviction for the first offence, should hear these words from the judge: I hereby order the defendant to be taken from this place to a suitable place of execution.